I'm here to talk to you today about Israeli climate innovation and why this matters now in this moment. I am Vanessa Bartram, founder and managing partner of ZORA Ventures. We're an early stage climate tech VC based in Israel, investing in all Israeli companies. These are scientist led teams and entrepreneurs that are leveraging advanced science to build a thriving planet atom by atom. We are very happy to have a portfolio that has been recognized globally. This is a result of working with entrepreneurs who are extremely values aligned, who have selected massive problems to be working on that matter to the world. So they've been featured here in outlets that you're no doubt familiar with. Our mission at ZORA is to back Israel's leading climate innovators. These are scientists, researchers, typically coming out of Technion, out of Weitzman, who have developed some innovation that's helping a Fortune 100 customer do what they do more sustainably. Our mission at ZORA is to, by backing these companies, remove 1 gigaton of carbon dioxide equivalents from our atmosphere by 2050. Many of you are probably familiar with the climate challenge and graphics that look like this. We're tracking parts per million of carbon dioxide particles in our atmosphere and watching since the Industrial Revolution that the temperature has risen in accordance with the rise in the CO2 equivalent concentration. We can see here that in 2000, you had about 386 particles per million. In 2020, that rose to 412 particles per million. And does anyone here happen to know, as of October 2023, how many particles per million? The answer is, who even cares? As of October 8th, 2023, who could possibly be focused on global warming when our country is mired in violence, death, and destruction? We are busy counting a lot of other things in Israel. We count the number of souls that were brutally murdered on October 7th. We count the hostages that were taken, hostages that were returned, and the 101 loved ones of Israelis that are still in Gaza today. We count the endless days of war. We count casualties of soldiers in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Benyamina. We count our civilians, among them children playing soccer, who have been killed by missiles and drones. We count the number of times our children, our spouses, our coworkers return again and again to reserve duty. We count citizens on the street protesting our government. We count the hundreds of protesters arrested by the police, the same police who have turned a blind eye to settler violence in the West Bank. We count the number of Knesset seats filled with MKs who have lost their moral voice, who cannot articulate a viable vision for our country, and are unwilling to speak truth to power. We count the number of our children and our friends' children, entrepreneurs, doctors, recent graduates, newlyweds, who are seriously weighing whether this is still a place that they can bet their future on. We are a country in crisis. In this bloody and chaotic context, who in their right mind would be foolish enough to be keeping count of a few more particles of invisible, intangible gases floating in our atmosphere? And yet, we are seeing a bizarre renaissance, a sort of moral uprising. Israel's best and brightest scientists, researchers, and serial entrepreneurs are dedicating themselves to climate innovation with an unprecedented urgency. 1 in every 8 new startups in Israel is a climate tech startup. Carbon capture and utilization, energy transition, decarbonization of food and agriculture, water use. ZORA is tracking over 1,200 startups, dozens of climate startups, dozens of them by founders with multiple exits in software, cyber, fintech, moving into climate tech to make a difference in this burning world. We have a few examples for you here. On left, we have 4C, Roi, and Moria. They're developing cultivated seafood to end overfishing and destruction of the ocean seabed, which is our world's largest natural carbon sink. They're partnering with corporates in Japan, including the world's largest seafood company, to bring their products to market. At right, we have Daniel Friedman along with Sharon Barak at Salutem, developing soluble, biodegradable plastic packaging. They're selling in India and Germany. Daniel sold his last company several years ago for $1.1 billion before dedicating his time and energy to Salutem. On the bottom left, we have the team at Numu, Daphne, Yulia, Hod. These were all senior executives in Israel's largest dairy company before they decided to leave and develop cow casein proteins in soybean plants to make cheese without the cow. They're partnering with dairy companies across Europe and China. Finally, Ram Amar and his team at Rewind. Rami is a longtime environmental activist in Israel. He sold his last company, a software startup, to Google for about $150 million. He then started Rewind to capture carbon in the anoxic depths of the Black Sea. He's partnering there with countries like Turkey, Georgia, and Romania to bring Israeli climate technology to fruition. So why? How does this happen? How does this work? What is driving these entrepreneurs, many of whom are juggling reserve duty, protests, running to the shelter while on Zoom calls, mourning the loss of friends, family, colleagues, to be doubling down on net zero and 2050 climate goals in a moment of total chaos? Rabbi Yitz Greenberg teaches that in every moment, in every breath, we have the opportunity to make a choice. We can choose between, on one hand, of the end of the continuum, darkness, chaos, destruction, hate, and death. On the other hand, we can choose light, order, hope, love, and life. These entrepreneurs are actively choosing light and life. These entrepreneurs are building a brighter future. They're manifesting the hope that Israel and our world have a better tomorrow ahead. They know that the only antidote to the death, destruction, and violence that is circling all around us is to focus our energy on building something that is constructive, that is positive, and that is healing our planet. I'd like to introduce you to one more climate entrepreneur. This is Ilan Samish, the founder and CEO of Amai Proteins. Ilan is a world expert in computational protein design, which for the rest of us means he's changing the sequence of amino acids within a protein to change the function of that molecule. Ilan developed a protein that is 3,000 times sweeter than sugar and is being used by companies like PepsiCo, Danone, Coca-Cola, Ocean Spray to reduce the sugar content of their products by 40 to 70%, all while reducing the environmental footprint of sugar production by 98%. On October 7th, Amai's director of molecular biology, Dr. Lilia Gurovich, was murdered at the Nova Music Festival, leaving behind 2 young children. Amai's 22-person team mourned Lilia's loss. They named their laboratory in her honor. They gifted equity to her children to secure their financial future. They doubled down on their work and her research to help her bring her and her company's vision to fruition. Simultaneously, Ilan continues to be a prominent leader of Israel's protest movement as a founder of Brothers and Sisters in Arms, which is a group of IDF reservists and high-tech leaders protesting an erosion of democracy in our government and country. Here he is featured in an article about the growing number of police arrests of peaceful anti-government protesters. This is our reality in Israel today. So why? Why at ZORA are we so passionate about supporting climate entrepreneurs and helping to cultivate their companies? It's not because their innovations will make us money, which they will. It's not even because they're restoring the health of our planet, which they are. We support them because they are the moral voice of our generation. They are the leaders who speak and act upon their values, who can articulate a vision for a brighter collective future and will drag us there along with them. They are Israel's best and most powerful ambassadors to the world in a moment of overwhelming anti Semitism and anti Israel sentiment. Their actions and innovations speaking louder than words or slogans possibly could. They are the people creating the organizations and the jobs that will give life affirming opportunities to our next generation and make them proud to call Israel home. They serve as the role models that inspire all of us to walk in the very Jewish tradition of dedicating ourselves to making our country and our world a better place. So we can keep counting particles per million of carbon dioxide equivalents. Yesterday, that number was 420. But we know that this is a proxy for a larger fight for Israel and for the health of our planet. Israel's climate community is a gathering place of incredibly talented leaders, scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs who are fighting the fight for a brighter tomorrow. We need them. And we at ZORA will be deeply honored to continue to support them however and wherever we can until we all know more peaceful days ahead for Israel and for our planet. Thank you for joining us.